tonight on the Night Team. One southern Indiana sheriff is saying staffing shortages is forcing the department to stop providing 24-hour coverage, leaving some residents in Salem scared.
It's disheartening that they're going to take that away because that's probably when we need them the most.
Plus, following the arrest of a former Catholic school teacher for having and distributing child pornography, the Archdiocese of Louisville is now being sued by 11 former students, claiming the school turned a blind eye. And later, Governor Andy Beshear taking in the tornado-damaged small town of Milton today.
When you have an event like this and we don't lose anyone, we don't have major injuries, it's because people are ready, they're trained, and our people are weather aware.
Hundreds are now left without homes. We hear Beshear's plan for moving forward. The WHAS11 Night Team starts right now. Staffing shortages has hit one southern Indiana Sheriff's Department, leading it to make unprecedented changes. This is bringing questions of public safety to the forefront. It's our top story here on the Night Team. Thanks so much for joining us a little bit late. I'm Alex Dieterer. The Washington County, Indiana Sheriff says his department will no longer be providing 24-hour coverage starting next week as it pulls back on overnight patrols. Night Teams Connor Steffen and photojournalist Aspen Hester bring us to Salem, Indiana and Washington County, where residents aren't all that happy about the changes.
In Washington County, Indiana,
very disheartening.
Concerns loom.
That's when crime and stuff's more active.
As the Sheriff's Department makes an unprecedented move, deciding to cut all staffing on its third shift.
Because that's probably when we need them the most, is when it's nighttime. Nobody's out and about. Businesses need to be covered. People need to be covered.
In a Facebook post, the department says starting March 22nd, no staff will be on patrol between the hours of 11 at night and 7 in the morning.
But it's scary to think that our town may not be watched over in the overnight times when, I would effectively think we need it.
Sheriff Brent Miller writes, quote, "This is not a decision that has been made lightly. We are trying to maintain appropriate police coverage, but simply can't keep working the way we are." He says officers are working 7 to 8 days in a row on 16-hour shifts at a time on occasion.
I would never have thought that the issue of people or businesses trying to find employees would ever spread into this realm, into the police world.
But for these county residents, even more baffling than the change itself.
Oh, to me, I don't understand.
Is the decision by the department to publicize it on social media.
It should not have been posted on Facebook. Maybe a press conference or something in the town for the town's people.
Yeah, it just magnetizes people to our little town and, hey, you can come and do whatever because we're not going to have a police presence.
Now, the department is calling on the Washington County Council to step up and send funding their way, saying it's an issue they cannot continue to ignore. Sheriff Miller says the department is down 6 deputies, adding it's become increasingly difficult to attract and retain qualified candidates due to the county's current low pay scale.
We're looking at our town and our construction here. I'd much rather have police coverage than, pedestrian crossings.
I mean, they're a little bit more needed than a crosswalk, so.
In Washington County, Indiana, Connor Steffen, the WHAS 1119, on your side.
The department says it's asking Indiana State Police for help covering the third shift shortage that will begin next Friday. The Archdiocese of Louisville is now being sued by 11 former students at the St. Stephen Martyr Catholic School. The suit alleges the school ignored misconduct by former teacher Jordan Fouts for years. Fouts was arrested in February, charged with distribution and possession of child pornography. Investigators say while he was employed at the school, he manipulated student photos into explicit images and shared those images with undercover officers. Now, a new lawsuit filed earlier this month alleges the school knew about Fouts' misconduct for years. According to the lawsuit, Fouts was known to have violent outbursts toward students, including throwing chairs and objects at students. The lawsuit also alleges Fouts had an inappropriate relationship with an 8th grade student, and the school placed restrictions on the student instead of looking into Fouts. The students are accusing the school of negligence and failing on their duty to report. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear was in Trimble County today, touring damage left behind by an EF2 tornado. Hundreds of people are without homes in the small town on Milton after the tornado ripped through Thursday afternoon. Today, Governor Beshear thanked all of the emergency responders in Milton for their quick and life-saving actions.
And so I hope people will come out of this remembering we got to take every single one of these seriously.
Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear taking in the damaged small town of Milton.
While there is damage, which you can see, we're really blessed in the fact that no lives were lost. It appears there are only 2 minor injuries. We can repair buildings. We cannot replace people.
An EF2 tornado with wind speeds of 115 miles per hour touched down in Jefferson County, Indiana and Milton, Kentucky Thursday.
An EF2 is a very serious tornado.
Miraculously, there were only 2 reports of people with minor injuries from the storms, but hundreds are now left without homes.
But you're going to have a lot of people that'll be going through the insurance process if they're insured. You're going to have renters that are trying to figure out what's next. So our communities need to wrap their arms around them, knowing folks have just been through trauma. Some of them may have lost everything, having to replace things as important to us as marriage certificates or other important documentation, and then figuring out where I'm going to stay tomorrow night and the night after. But I already see this community rallying around its folks.
It took nearly 2 days for power to be restored, and now many are living in temporary shelters in some of the state's parks.
That's an incredible job by the utilities, getting water back, getting power back. This is some of the fastest we've ever seen that happen.
Beshear thanking the emergency services men and women who stepped up to make sure their small town was safe and cared for.
God is good, even when it's hard. And we can and we'll rebuild. We'll do it quickly.
Thank you, Governor. We appreciate you.
Highway 36 into Milton was shut down immediately following the storm. Several downed trees and power lines were covering the road. Crews worked for nearly 2 days before they were finally able to reopen the road just before 8:30 last night. Kentucky's Republican supermajority is taking steps to criminalize disruptive protests inside the state capitol. The move is raising concerns among advocates that their rights to challenge authority will be impacted. The new legislation would make it so that disorderly or disruptive conduct intended to disrupt lawmakers doing business would be a misdemeanor. Repeat offenders would then be charged with a felony.
Protesting is as American as apple pie. It's part of the foundation of who we are, and I'm fully supportive of that. But when you prevent a legislative body from doing its work, then you cross a line.
Is organizing a protest outside the legislative chambers worth the same punishment as child pornography or rape in the second degree? Because that's what this bill does. Not only is there First Amendment concerns, but also it doesn't make logical sense.
The House passed the bill this week, and the bill is now pending in the Senate. The Kentucky Department of Education has announced the 3 finalists for its next commissioner. All 3 currently work in the state and are Kentucky natives. The board voted during its last meeting to recommend Buddy Berry, Robbie Fletcher, and Jim Flynn as finalists for the commissioner position. That position has been held by an interim after Jason Glass resigned in September. The board will hold special meetings Monday and Tuesday here in Louisville, where they will interview each candidate and potentially vote on a choice. All new tonight, a class action lawsuit has been filed against the NCAA by former University of Kentucky swimmer Riley Gaines and more than a dozen other female athletes. They say the organization's 2022 ruling allowing transgender athletes to compete in women's sports is in violation of Title IX. The lawsuit details an incident at the 2022 NCAA National Championship for swimming, where Gaines tied for 5th place with Leah Thomas, a trans swimmer who had previously competed in the men's category. The complaint alleges that only Thomas would be allowed to hold the 5th place trophy. It goes on to say Thomas's dominance is thanks to retained male advantage. Now, 2 years after the incident, other female athletes are joining Gaines in the suit.
A lot of people ask us, why did we wait this long to file a lawsuit? Well, we waited this long to allow the NCAA every opportunity to make the right decision.
We're not asking for anything extra. We're not asking for anything special.
Athlete Ally, an LGBTQ advocacy group, says they appreciate that the NCAA is pausing and reassessing. They say they firmly believe research shows that transgender athletes do not have an inherent advantage in sports. They add they should not just be accepted, but celebrated. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear was in Washington, D.C. yesterday, joining a roundtable on marijuana. The roundtable was led by Vice President Kamala Harris and rapper Fat Joe. The discussion called on the federal government to ease the penalties associated with marijuana. Harris noting that currently the federal government considers cannabis to be more dangerous than fentanyl.
Nobody should have to go to jail for smoking weed. Marijuana is considered as dangerous as heroin and more dangerous than fentanyl, which is absurd, not to mention patently unfair.
Harris invited Beshear to the roundtable to discuss how he used his pardoning power to address convictions of Kentuckians charged only with simple marijuana possession. In the closed-door session, Beshear discussed how other states can use Kentucky as a model.